Good afternoon. Welcome to the Cohn Zone. We're the Cohns, Grant Cohn, Lowell Cohn, and we're talking about Brock Purdy today, Kyle Shanahan, how he is and isn't having his best season ever with the 49ers. But we got to start with the news, which is Brock Purdy. The Niners were winning a game, and then all of a sudden there was a report during the broadcast, which seemed to come from Brock Purdy, according to Diana Rossini of The Athletic, that really, it's a day-to-day thing, and there's no exact timetable because the injury is so painful, and he has to see when it exactly recovers completely. Dad, when do you think the 49ers should/will bring back Brock Purdy?
Okay, let's do it like this, Iggy. I'll do it from what I imagine the point of view of Kyle Shanahan is, and you'll do it after from what you imagine the point of view of Brock Purdy is. Fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kyle Shanahan, he's looking at his team, which is 5-2, and is very likely to be 6-2. That's a hell of a record. They're one of the best teams in the NFC. They have a backup quarterback who is 4-1 and is very likely to be 5-1. I don't think Kyle Shanahan is in any particular hurry to make a change. And this is a hypothetical. Let's say if I were him, I were the coach, I would find an excuse every week to start Mac Jones and not to start Brock Purdy, because why screw up a good thing? The guy is 4-1. We'll get into later the comparison of the two quarterbacks, but even though he didn't have a great game on Sunday, he won. And you always want to go with the guy who wins. So if I were Shanahan, I would wait until Mac Jones has a crummy game, loses in a crummy game. If he loses a shootout or something, no. But if he's crummy and loses a game or gets hurt, then I would begin to think about bringing Brock Purdy back, because my working assumption is he's pretty close to being ready, and that Kyle is holding him back because it would not be smart to bring back Purdy in the middle of this strong winning group of games. I'm going to tell you a story that you know, but the others don't know. When I used to be actively covering sports, I was talking off the record to a general manager of a team. I won't tell you what sport and I won't tell you what city, but I was talking to the general manager. And we were off the record, and he said, he didn't want a particular player to play that night or in a game in the near future. And he said, you know what, Lowell? I'm going to say he has back spasms or some shit. Well, I think if push comes to shove and people start saying you got to start Brock Purdy before Shanahan is ready, he should give him back spasms or some shit. So I think that's it from Kyle's point of view. You have a different point of view.
Well, I do. To your point, 4-1 the last 5 starts for Mac. It's 4-1 on the 49ers, and it just so happens that Brock Purdy is 1-4 at his last 5 starts. Not all his fault, but if something isn't working when Brock Purdy's starting and something's working with Mac Jones, why don't you just stick with Mac Jones for now? And maybe that is Kyle Shanahan's preference, and that's his choice. But there's also Brock Purdy's perspective here. Let's look at it another way. The way I perceived this injury at first, he gets injured week 1. They say it's a 2 to 5 week injury. They brought him back after 2 weeks, as aggressively as possible. Before that game against the Jaguars, we've talked about it. The last press conference Brock had, he didn't say yeah, I'm fine, I'm going to play. He said, I kind of need to see how I feel on game day. And if I'm not really 100% and I don't feel like myself, probably would be doing the team a disservice. That's essentially what he said. Then the next day, Kyle said he's not even questionable for this game. He's playing. He's fine. He played. He wasn't fine. He re-injured the toe and didn't play well, and they lost. And we've seen the Niners bring back players quickly from injuries. Raheem Mostert's talked about it. They want their guys on the field. And I think They wanted Brock on the field for that Jaguars game. Brock felt like he owed it to the team to play injured because they paid him so much and he's a starting quarterback. He tried it. It didn't work out. And now I think it's possible that he's saying, I'm not going to let you do that to me twice. You brought me back too soon. This injury is tricky. I'm a tough guy. I'm not a malingerer, but I have to advocate for myself now, the way that Christian McCaffrey may have last year with his calf. So I'm going to tell you when I'm ready to go. Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code COHN, COHN, and download the app now.
It's plausible. Of course, we don't know, so these are hypotheticals on both parts. But I think a conclusion we can reach, it's possible that the coach and the quarterback have different agendas.
They usually do.
They usually do. Yeah.
I mean, from Purdy's perspective, we've heard about these toe injuries. They can end careers. They're very debilitating. His whole game is dependent on mobility and quickness. We saw him try to throw a football with this. He couldn't really do it well. He needs to make sure this goes away completely. And he doesn't need to prove to the Niners that he's tough in the process. So if Mac Jones goes out there and plays well and wins a bunch of games, God love Mac Jones. Hopefully you get a contract on another team. But I think Brock would be really foolish to do it twice. Maybe the Niners would be really foolish to do it twice too.
Also, Iggy, I think you would agree with me. Bringing him back, what is it, after 2 weeks they brought Purdy back, was absolutely a mistake.
Yeah.
It was absolutely a mistake.
Yeah, and the question is, was it Purdy insisting that he needed to play over the, protests of the team doctors and the coaches? Well, it doesn't seem that way because they said he wasn't even questionable for the game. They said they cleared him for that game. That's why I think I see it from Purdy's perspective. The team cleared him for the game. We saw him. He shouldn't have been cleared. That's kind of organizational malpractice. He's supposed to be your most important player. And now it's not just it's his career. It's not just the Niners quarterback. So he has to make sure that his career isn't in jeopardy. And this is a very jeopardizing injury.
Yeah, I think what you're giving is an interpretation because
Yes.
we don't know. But I find it, Iggy, very plausible. Now, I find mine very plausible too.
I do too.
Yeah, so we're in the horns of a dilemma.
Like, is it possible that Purdy's like, you know what? I need to take my time before I come back. And Kyle's like, you know what? Good. Take your time.
Yeah. The thing about it is he's competitive, Purdy, and competitive people want to play and want to show they're better than the backup.
Right.
And so part of me thinks he wants to show he's better than the backup. But maybe this is from, again, supporting my point of view. Kyle is saying, you have back spasms or some shit.
Well, maybe that's why Purdy played against the Jaguars, because Jones had just won 2 games in a row and Purdy wanted to come back and show that he was better than the backup, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He was hurt and he wasn't better than Mac. And maybe he's thinking, I don't need to do that again. I don't need to come back and show people that really Mac's better than me. If I come back this week and I'm not myself and I lose to the Texans, I just created a quarterback controversy. My fault. So why don't I let Mac keep playing? Because eventually he's going to have a bad game and people are going to want me to come back and play.
Or he's going to get hurt, Iggy. He's on the verge of being hurt right now. That's the thing with Niner quarterbacks. We always thought of them, you need a starter and a backup. Actually, you need 2 starters.
At least.
Because they keep getting hurt and going back and forth.
Yeah.